Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Monday, happy second recording. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy second recording, guys. So I posted something on the community page this morning, and my good sis commented, and I'm going to read her comment because it's fire. But what I stated was, God is finishing up the last minute touches. Don't take it personal when someone has canceled on you, disappeared, or even disappointed you. Pruning will happen up to the very last second. God is still removing people and things that just cannot go. Due season is a very scarce season. Let it happen. So my good sis commented, and she said, well, basically her first comment, she said, pull it up. I am the one disappearing because of certain individuals who I thought would be the last person in the world to cause me intentional hurt. This person was like I'm assuming that's a house. Does this count? If I am the one eliminating / pruning people from my life. Then I stated back and I told her, basically, hey, definitely, it doesn't matter who made the decision. Their actions ultimately caused the decision, and it was all based still on what God needed. Then she commented back and said, I guess this right here. I guess God needs us to be in the healthiest state emotionally, spiritually, so we can hear the next step from him. That's why certain people need to be pruned. I sense that we are going to the next level. Hallelujah. Deeper levels of wisdom, revelations, and intimacy with the Creator. Excited. Woo! Appreciate you always, sweet Kizzy, aka Phenomenal Woman of God. Okay. Funny thing was, I was going to make a recording on this same topic right here earlier this morning, but instead I opted up for the community post. So when she commented, I got a conviction to come back on and make the recording that I initially was going to make on this topic. See, she's absolutely right. Remember, there's levels to this thing. It's levels to this thing. Some people say glory to glory. I typically say levels to levels. There are so many different levels. And the thing is, sometimes you don't even realize how many levels until you go through one level, right? You might get elevated to a certain level. Let's just say you're newly elevated to a certain level. When you're newly elevated, you really think that's the level. Like, you really think like you know most everything you should know. You've seen most things. But then God will start to give you, when you least expect it, he will start to show you visions of the next level, and so on and so on. So you keep going from level to level, and each level requires different things. The higher you go, the more difficult it is. The higher you go, the more you have to be pruned. The higher you go, the more you have to be disciplined for different reasons. Here's why a lot of people fall off. Just like she said, you have to be so tapped in emotionally, spiritually. You just got to be to a posture. Because when you get to a certain level, God will speak to you so clear as day. When you're at lower levels, everything kind of seems humble jumble, like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, wah, wah. You hear from God, and then there's so many different voices that's confusing it, and you're thinking it's God. It's a familiar spirit. You're going back and asking for 37 confirmations, and you got people in your ear. You're listening to 1,000 different people. You got family pulling at you. You got friends pulling at you. You got it's just a lot of static. But the higher you go, God needs you to be so in tune. God needs you to be so disciplined. God needs you to be so confident in his voice. He needs your pathway to be so clear that he can get to you whatever he needs to get to you. So the people, it's not even that the people are so horrible. Some people are being pruned who are great people, who've done you no wrong. Now, granted, of course, many are being pruned who have done wrong to you. Many are being pruned who you just couldn't get away from if you tried on your own. Many are being pruned because they say, quote unquote, blood is thicker than water, but God knows this person despised you as much as the enemy on the street. So yes, you have those group of people being pruned. But here's where it becomes difficult. When God starts pruning people who you feel, your personal self, have done you no wrong. And then the person is kind of looking at you side eye like, why are you acting funny? Or why you and it's not even that. It's not even and you can't even explain it to them sometimes, because if their mind haven't elevated yet, they will still take it personal. See, any other elevated person will understand that some things are just not like I got a person right now, matter of fact. See, God will sometimes place a person in your life specifically for a particular season or a particular thing. And what will happen is we tend to think that when people fall off, they walk away or we walk away. We want to take it personal. And many times it's not even the person, it's God's doing. Sometimes God will also remove people that you rely on too much. So for her, beautiful lady, blue eyes, blonde hair, just gorgeous. We encountered each other and we clicked. I mean, just instantly, right? We click because when it's God ordained people, it's the spirits collide. So there's no question mark. There's no reservations. Your spirit is set. Your spirit is settled. If your spirit is not settled about a person, then that's not from God. Your spirit will be at peace. Your spirit will just feel at home when God sends you people. Your spirit now. But when I encountered her, I was in a very, very difficult season. Difficult seasons typically happen right before major elevations. So if you're in a very difficult season right now, I mean, before elevation, it's a very, 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 very difficult season. I'm not talking about something you can just kind of just pray about it and go to sleep. I'm talking about those seasons that keep you up, those seasons that, I mean, your spirit is so low that you can barely hear from God yourself. Even if God is talking to you, you're not even really tapped in like that to really get it, right? So I encountered her, and God literally placed her in my life to give me certain revelations, to pray for me. And you can feel when people pray for you. Like, your spirit can be so low, and then you ask a person who's really, really tapped in and who's really, really sent from God to pray for you, and you can feel when they pray for you, because it's something lift up off of your spirit. But then once I came out of that season and the elevation took place, she kind of stopped calling your girl and texting your girl. And I was in my feelings for a little bit, right? I was in my feelings. I mean, she didn't know this, right? But I was in my feelings because I'm the person like this, right? I don't even have a lot of people in my life. I've been always very, very that tight knitted, 2 or 3, right? Maybe 4. And so I lock on to things like that. So when God starts to remove those kinds, listen. God, what is this about? Right? And so as time went on, she would kind of randomly text. Then I'll randomly text. But the response got shorter and shorter. Shorter and shorter. And then one of the last things she said to me was, well, not last. One of the last things she said was, God needs you to ask him. And this is why I said this to you guys a lot, because it works. Seriously. She said, ask God. God wants you to ask him to see yourself the way he sees you. And also, God is peeling you back like an onion. He's peeling layers and layers and layers and layers, right? So after that brief conversation, the Holy Spirit came to me clear as day and said, the season is up. And I'm like, but God, why? I don't understand. Like, we're great together. We talk about you, Lord. Like, why? Because you're depending on her voice too much. I used her to get you through this season of drought. She done that. She was excellent. I used her for that season. Now that the door has opened for you and you're out of that season, which thank God was a very, very, very short drought season, she did her part. Now it's time for you to start hearing from me on the next level. The next level. So the higher you go, God will start pruning people for different reasons. Some people you're leaning on too much and you're depending on their voices too much, including even some of your pastors maybe. You're depending on their voice too much when the fact of the matter is you got to learn to hear from God yourself, to the point that people will end up being your confirmation versus you seeking revelation through people. And that can only come through major disciplines. And most times we're not even strong enough or even wise enough ourselves to remove the people to say, hey, you know what? I want to go into this intentional season where I cut off all distractions, and I mean all, and I just want to rest in God and learn more about God. So many times, because we can't do that just as human beings, God will start removing the people. The people who are pulling at you, the toxic people, the people who you're depending on their voice too much, the people who are confusing the message that God needs you to receive. They're confusing it, maybe not even intentionally, but they're confusing it. He will start to remove people that you're having too much fun with. Let me tell you about that one. Ooh, honey. Oh, I was in my feelings for about 6 months with this one. So I had a friend. Ooh, honey, you talking about a good time. All we did was get together and laugh and act a fool. I'm talking about not acting a fool, but just, it was like the funnest time. And then I heard God say clear as day, you need to let him know this is the last fun, crazy dinner. But why? We're not doing anything like, it wasn't even like that to begin with, but I cannot come up with a logical reason on why, like, it's all fun. Well, it's too much fun. But my flesh kept me tied with something, because I remember he had said something to me just in a normal conversation, maybe like a year or so prior, that one of his family members, who he was really, really fond of, had heard the call of God on their lives, and the person followed the voice of God, and then that was detrimental to their relationship, and it really wounded him. So I think at that point, he wasn't understanding the spiritual aspect of when God calls you to leave certain people, you got to do what God says, where in fact he took it more personal. So that conversation kept replaying in my head of something he had said to me a year prior. And now I felt like, oh, God. And he was like, so you're worried about, you're worried about hurting somebody's feelings? And I'm like, but I don't even know why yet. We want God to tell us why. God don't have to tell you nothing. If God says, leave this person alone, cut this person off, he don't have to tell you why. You just have to trust and know that it's for your best interests. God can, listen, God can, and again, it just may really be just the person is too, keeping you too distracted, like you're having too much fun when God knows he's about to call you into a season where you have to press in more. It could be truly some things that the person can have going on. This person could be doing some things that you don't even know about that can be harboring certain types of spirits. And when you're around this person, your spirit is open up because you're acting a fool, right? And then these spirits starts to transfer. So there's tons of reason. You can have a person, you can have a girlfriend who wants your whole man, who wants your whole life, but she's holding your hand and praying with you, honey, and all this nonsense. And God already know what time it is. And you trying to figure out why you and your man got all this warfare going on, where all this strife coming from, because you got the wrong spirits around you. You love her, and you know you could never do that to her. But you don't know what she's thinking about you. Jealousy is very, 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 very dangerous. And it hides behind smiles. It hides behind, girl, you know I always got your back. I don't know who that's for, but I know that one ain't for me. Ooh, child. So I just had to start like pulling myself. And then I think after a while he kind of got the picture of something, because he would always say things like, you seem like you're kind of, and I just, got to let it happen. And so after that period, it all made sense to me. God was calling me into a season where all that fun stuff had to be shut off for a season, because I still have fun. Let me just tell you, people want to make God seem like, you got to be sitting here living in a box and no. No, I still have fun, but there are seasons where God is going to shut all that fun off. And it's just going to be you and God's. He's going to start pruning habits. He's going to start pruning people. He's going to start pruning mindsets. And this is why a lot of the people will fall off, because your mindset shifts. So you may be, let's just say you're a guy, I don't know, and you and your homeboys, your buddies, whatever you got going on, right? Y'all just doing some crazy stuff. Let's just say, okay, every time y'all get together, all y'all married are in relationships. Every time y'all get together, y'all hitting up strip clubs or whatever, just having fun, having a guy's night out, right? Hitting up strip clubs and doing whatever foolishness y'all got going on. But now God is about to call you to marriage if you're not the one that's married, right? You don't even know that God is calling you to marriage, because I don't think some men look at marriage like some woman, right? So it's easier for men to run from it, not all men, versus some women want to run to it. But you don't even know why, because God have not told you yet that in the next year he's going to download something in your spirit that's going to make your spirit is going to be longing for a particular person that is not longing for now. God haven't removed the scales yet. He's just telling you, when y'all get up in the strip club and you used to doing whatever you're doing, buying shots, right? And you go to buy a shot, right? You tell everybody you'll be right back, right? 4 of your homeboys is in the corner, right? And when you walk off, you have every intentions that you're just going to go get these shots and y'all about to turn up. And you end up to the bar and some kind of conviction hits you. This is going to be your last shot. Matter of fact, go home. And you're like, huh? Right? But God haven't even revealed to you why. But there's something in your spirit that's a heavy, heavy conviction, heavier than usual. You may be obedient and you may not. You may go home, or you may be like, okay, this is the last shot. I'll see y'all boys later, right? Or you may allow flesh to kick in, pride to kick in, and you ignore that conviction. Okay, cool. You ignore the conviction. Now you're still going back to the strip club or whatever y'all got going on, just y'all boys' night out. Now all of a sudden now, when you would go and have a great time, there's this conviction beating you upside the head. You're going to take a shot. You can't even get a buzz from the shot anymore. You're turned off. The strippers won't even come to you. And you're trying to figure out, this ain't even the same no more. Like, I think I would rather just be laying up Netflix and chill. But now your pride ain't going to let your boy tell you, like, listen, I think I'm ready to settle down, right? So now you're trying to still go. And they know something's different in you. You're letting your flesh take over the spirit out of pride. So now God may have to snatch the rug because he needs you. What does snatch the rug look like? We can come up with 1,000 scenarios. Some kind of strife happen. One of the strippers go back and lie and tell your homeboy you've been talking about him. You say his foot stink. you go back and tell your homeboy you've been trying to haul at the girl, that you've been trying all that nonsense, honey. Right? Well, never mind, because men don't even really fall out like. Well, I'll take that back. But men don't typically fall out about petty stuff like that, I guess. But whatever, guys, whatever men fall out about, right? Something happens, and now that friendship is broken up. But your feelings are hurt because you're focused on he tried to haul at your girl or something. And it's never even about that. It's about God needed it to happen. He gave you the convictions while you was in there. He told you to come up out of there, but you kept ignoring it because of your pride. So he snatched the rug. But now you're laying on the floor, laying in your misery, thinking that this friend done betrayed you, and you're focusing on how it happened versus it had to happen. So there's different ways that God will start to prune things. So as my good sis was saying, somebody, they could have done something to you. Their actions cause you to cut them off, but ultimately it's still connecting to pruning. So however you get there is how you get there. But you're going to get there with a very scarce environment. So look at it like a step ladder. Each step you go, more things and more. So you might be at step 1. You might just be starting off on your journey. You still may have 15 friends, 5 associates. You get to step 5, you might have now 7 friends, 5 associates. Level 10, you got 2 friends, 3 associates. So the higher you go, more things and more people fall off. Again, including certain habits and certain mindsets too. So you're really like a prude, right? The higher you go, you're really like a prude. You're probably boring because you don't do the stuff you used to do. You can't. People done left you alone because they can't use you no more, right? Because you got boundaries in place. Half of the associates then fall off because they can't even connect with you because your mentor is too sharp. You're too deep for them. You're not speaking surface level things anymore. When you try to go around so they don't feel like you forgot where you came from, child, they're talking about, they're talking about foolishness. They're talking about Shade Room. They're talking about the BET Awards. They're talking about like so much surface level stuff. And here you're thinking about kingdom wealth transfers. You're thinking about peace. You're thinking about healthy, wholesome relationships and partnerships. You're thinking about purpose and calling and the will for God. You're thinking about connecting spiritually so you can get this new insight and this new revelation, etc., etc. So how many people is really on that level? Think about it. How many people have you ever really encountered on that level? Maybe 10% of the world, if that, I don't even know. So that's why they're no longer there. So as you continue to go higher, there are now specific things that God needs you to do because now God can trust you. There are certain things God will download to you. I mean, clear as day, and tell you, listen, I'm about to do this in your life. When I do this in your life, I need you to do boom, 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 boom. And it's all me, none of you. I'm going to tell you what to do, who to do it to, where to go, what to say, what to give. Clear as day. So clear that you don't even have to get a confirmation. Now, how can you get that type of revelation and insights if you're distracted by people, places, or things? It's impossible. It's impossible. So it takes intentional, major discipline, sacrifice, tapping in. And this is why most people won't ever make it. Because it's not easy. This is why, again, I feel visionaries such as myself, and again, I don't want to keep using that word head. It's a word I'm looking for. It's not Head Start. It's a word I'm looking for, but it makes it In comparison to maybe somebody who don't see what they're working towards or know what God is doing and what God needs them to do, in comparison to that, it makes it a breeze. And it's not a breeze, right? It's hard as hell. Let's be real. But the point I'm trying to make is, you know exactly what God has said and shown you. So you know what's coming. Your job would just to be disciplined and in alignment to receive what's coming. And any conviction that comes to you about a person, place, a thing, a habit, a this, and that, you got to be so disciplined to remove or cut that thing off, regardless of what somebody says, regardless of what your emotions feel. But it's all because you're obedient to what God is asking you to do. It's levels to this thing. And it will snatch your edges and your hairline. It's levels to this thing. But then a time will come where it's like a balance. It balances it off or something. I can't explain it. But it balances it off where you're out of that struggle of it all. But you're still not, I don't know. But it balances. And now you're just chilling. All by your lonesome. And don't have a care in the world about the foolishness of the world. Child, you ain't got time to worry about that nonsense. You're too connected, honey. You somewhere in nature. You're somewhere tapped in. And the world is blind. They don't even see what's going on. And because they're blind, God has to give those who can see everything he needs to be done. So that's why pruning is so hard. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.